everyone, it's Christy. A question that I'm asked very often is how do I figure out the measurements for sketches that don't already have the measurements on them? So today's video I'm going to try to explain the best I can how I come up with those measurements. I'm going to be using Mojo Monday sketch number 409 as my example. One way you can figure out measurements is to print the sketch to actual size, like A2 size, so that'd be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I don't usually do that. I usually just figure them out on my own, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with some scraps from a Cartabella 6x6, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I do keep a few 6x6s already cut up, just in case I need them for certain card challenges or just that one special card. So this one works well to have the black paper. I'm going to start by cutting the main mat, so the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Then when it's time to figure out the next piece of the card, I'm going to do this top section, this rectangle here on the top. It's about 2/3 up. So the easiest way for me to do it is to actually use my trimmer and the measurements on the top. So I'm going to start by cutting 4 inches because I'm going to have my matting as a 1/4 inch. And then to figure out where I want that 2/3 piece, I do it based on, like I said, the measurements on the guide on the trimmer. And I just kind of look and see where about 2/3 is. And in this case, it comes to about 3 1/2. So I'm going to cut that first piece. Now there is a little bit of the decor on this paper, but most of that will be covered up, so I'm not too concerned about it. For the next piece, I'm going to do the same thing. It's about 1/3 of the card, but sometimes if I just take the actual card front and put it up on my trimmer, then I can kind of visually see how much of that measurement I need. So in this case, I decided on 1 3/4. Whenever I do a sketch, I always write the measurements down on the printed sketch. That way, if I ever want to redo that sketch, I already have the measurements figured out and it's quick and easy to go. For the first time I do a new sketch to me, I don't adhere the papers down until I have all the pieces cut out. That way I'm sure everything fits the way I want it to. Now I'm trying to figure out the measurements for that rectangular piece. I just take the card front and once again hold it up on my trimmer, looking at the measurements, and visually see where I'm going to make that cut of what size. So in this case, that first one, it's going to be 3 1/2 inches tall. And then I'll do the same thing to figure out the width, holding it up against my trimmer, looking at the ruler on the top of the guideline. I just visually see where I'd like that placement to be, and in this case it looks like about 2 1/2 inches. Sometimes after I've cut a piece and I've laid it onto the card front, I've decided that might be just a little too small or a little too big. So I might just add 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch to modify it for the next card I do. most of the layers and matting that I do on my cards, I add either an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/4 inch to all of the pieces. Right here I'm cutting just a thin 1/4 inch strip to go between those two main pieces on the background, just for an even flow. It'll also help cover up just that little bit of print on that light pink corner where there's a little bit of an Eiffel Tower and some clouds in the corner. Now I'm going to use the polka dot paper to do the little circle embellishment. The easiest way I find to decide what size to use is to actually just grab the die cut and hold it up against the paper. I had thought about using this polka dot gray strip for that element going across the middle, but changed my mind and I'm using a white piece of paper instead. Just looking at it on the sketch, I'm going with 5/8 of an inch. This would be a great spot for my sentiment. And just holding up against my card, I'm kind of marking it with my thumb, looking at it against my trimmer. I'm going to do 3 inches. The star on the sketch just indicates embellishments. I've decided to do double hearts, one in pink, and I'm going to do the other one in gray in just a slightly smaller size. These are die cuts from Lawn Fawn. I'm adding my banner. I know there's fancier ways to cut a banner, but I'm usually fine just using my scissors and cutting it myself. The sentiment stamp I'm using is one by Little Inker Designs. It says, "I love you." And I forgot to mention the circle die cut that has the stitching on it is also by Little Inker Designs. I stamped it more to the right, that way I have room to put my little hearts on there. Whenever I add matting to my banners, I don't usually measure. I just kind of lay it on my paper, eyeball it to about 1/8 of an inch around the edge of all of it. Once my card pieces are all cut up, then I'll go ahead and I'll adhere my paper down. I use ATG tape, definitely my preferred choice of adhesive. And of course I have my pink gun that I've embellished up with some rub-ons and some bling. As far as lining everything up on my card, I really just eyeball it, trying to make sure all the sides look even. For this 1/4 inch strip, I'm using my ATG tape. It's almost the same width as the paper, so any of the little edges that come off, I just kind of tucked them in, rub them on with my fingers. Sorry, I went a little off camera right here. I'm just trying to make sure I get that little strip straight. It always helps me to kind of hold it up more eye level than looking down at it. Now with this sentiment, I'm able to cover up just almost all of that little pattern on the corner, so all you can see is one of the tiny little clouds, which looks just fine to go with the papers. I use ATG to hook most of my pieces down again. Now for the heart, I'm going to use a little bit of the dimensional tape just on half of the heart, just because there's more layers on the right side than the left, so I don't want that left side of the heart drooping down. And then I'll do the same on the gray, just the very bottom corner. I'm going to add a little bit of dimensional tape and then just ATG for the rest. Now for one final part of my card, I'm just adding 3 small black brads to the top. It's not part of the original sketch, but I like to just add that little extra. And I like to add my brads to the card front before I actually attach it to the card. That way you won't see the backs of the brads when you open the card. For flattening the backs of the brads, I use this tool by We Are Memory Keeper. Not sure of the name of it, I'll have to look it up, but it's really nice for just flattening those and it doesn't ruin your fingernails. So now I'm just going to put my card front onto my card base. Right now I'm just making sure that they line up. If there's anything extra, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off that little bit of card base because I don't like any of the white showing through. I always put a little extra HED around those backs of the brads just so they don't come loose on the card. So everyone who's always wanted to see me make a card in real time, here you go. Here is one of my finished cards. I do have some future 6x6 video tutorials in the works, so make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see those, and be sure to hit the like button. I hope this was helpful and I hope you enjoyed my video. Thanks for watching.